on, Conrad. No.
Hello, everybody. Most everybody here knows who I am. How are y'all doing tonight? Great. Well, I know that you came here for a couple of reasons. Either you agree with me already, or you have doubts, or you want to try to shoot me down. I've had that everywhere I go. So that's okay. Let me say a couple things because I am for paper ballots. No question about it. I am against the machines that we currently use. I'm not against the people, which are county clerks, election commissioners, or any of our legislators or JPs. I'm not against any of them. They're all good people. Everybody wants to do the right thing. I want to make that clear because it's not us versus them. It's an educational process. And that's what I'm here to do. And that's what my organization is doing. We're a 501c4. We're here to educate and try to get people to understand why we cannot trust a machine that has no transparency. But I'm not the only one that thinks that way. I'm not the only one. There's a couple other people I want you to see. If you can see that. Y'all probably see President Trump right there at CPAC.
They secure our elections. All Republican governors should immediately go for paper ballots, one-day voting, and voter ID.
If you look at that video, can you see it? Play it again. Will?
Secure our
Look
elections.
at the far right on the back. That's
All
me.
Republican governors should immediately go for paper ballots, one-day voting, and voter ID.
Right over there, far right. And the guy that I was looking at, we were doing it was Mike Lindell. He was on the other side, Mr. Pillowman. He was on the other side. So, but there's another person. What's the other one? Please, show the other one.
Hey there, Arkansas. I'm Kerry Lake from Arizona, and I'm joining your mission to take back America county by county to restore faith in our election process. Arkansas plays a vital role in this mission led by Colonel Conrad Reynolds and the Arkansas Voter Integrity Initiative. By demanding hand-marked paper ballots, we will ensure the integrity of our elections and rid ourselves of non-transparent voting computers. Call your Justice of the Peace and insist on hand-marked paper ballots for your county. To become part of the movement and learn more, go to avii.org. Together, we will take back America county by county.
Kerry Lake is a great lady, and she is absolutely behind us in this. Okay, she ought to be somebody that knows. Absolutely. So let me ask you a real quick question. I start off usually with this. Can anybody tell me who this is? What person this represents? Anybody?
It's like a stick family portrait.
That's it. Anybody?
I don't have the database.
You don't know. We don't know. But that's what is being counted by the machines. And people who support machines tell us that we have to accept this. This is what you have to verify. You don't know for sure the name on that ballot, in fact, is being counted because that machine doesn't read names, and we'll talk about that in a minute. It only reads barcode. And none of us, no one in this room knows what that means or can interpret that. But that's what we have to accept because everybody in leadership positions says you have to accept this. I'm not going to accept it. And I'm going to, no way. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And it's nothing against those people. Okay? They just think they know something that they don't. And so I want to talk real quickly because I don't have a lot of time. But I know there was a handout. Everybody got that handout? Yes. That was given to you. There's a QR code on there. Everything that I'm going to say on that tonight is backed up by resource documents, all these links. That's what that QR code will take you to our website. And it gives you all these links to all the articles that support everything that I'm saying. I like this one here. It says, who is this, Elizabeth Warren or Donald Trump? Again, we don't know. You don't know. Okay? And so that's why we have to get rid of machines. We don't have to prove that they cheated because guess what? We're not allowed to see the source code. So on one hand, they tie our hands behind our back and say, okay, you can't see the source code because it's proprietary. But show us the evidence. Well, the evidence is in the source code, folks. And we can't see it because they won't allow it. So on one hand, they're saying we're going to handcuff you. And on the other hand, they're going to say, well, you didn't show us any evidence. So therefore, we're going to keep machines. Doesn't work that way. This is our election. This is our country. This is our county. It's our state. And we have a right to have and demand elections that we all can have faith and trust in. We need transparency, accuracy, and accountability. Okay? Now, most of the county clerks that I've spoken with are great people. I'm telling you, most of them. I had one, she didn't like me too much. But most of them are really good people. But right now we have convenience. Period. It's convenience. We've traded convenience, okay, for security. That's what we've done. Because no one wants to count ballots. No one wants to do that. I've heard all the reasons over and over and over. It takes too long, it's too hard, too expensive. Problems. Problem. Well, let me talk a little bit about the voting process that we have here. Because it's important that we all understand the voting process and why we have to change it. So let's talk about that a second. Oh, by the way, nobody who wrote any of these bills called me. Nobody. Nobody even wanted to talk to me. Nobody said anything about me. I saw a couple of people who raised this book up and said about Marlon Hawkins. Y'all heard that? Okay? Did you ever ask those people if they ever read the book? There's nothing in here about stuffing ballots. Not one thing. But that's what they use to try to say, hey, because they know you're not going to read it. And so they say that to make you feel like you're the stupid one. And in fact, you're the one, you haven't read it. I'm telling you right now, there's nothing in here about paper ballots. And so about stuffing paper ballots. But that's the scare tactic to get you to think about that. So let's go ahead and talk about how we vote and why we need to change our system that we currently have. Number one, when you go vote, the very first thing you do is you show your ID, correct? Yes. I'll be quick here because I don't have a lot of time. So you show your ID. We got an ID law here in the state of Arkansas. It's not nearly as strong as it should be, but it is an ID law. You have to show something. But pretty much everybody can vote at some point. But you show your ID, and then the next thing they do is they go behind and they look up your address, correct? Yeah. They ask you, what's your name, what's your birth date? Excuse me, what else? Your address, right? So you give them your address, and then they look it up. What are they looking that up on? What is that? Anybody know?
It's a computer.
It's an e-poll book. It's called an e-poll book, right? Where does that information live? I asked the county clerk this. I said, where does that information come from? Where is it? It didn't come out of the air. Where is it located? What server? They don't know. Most of them don't know. Actually, it's esns that has it. The county clerks have real-time access to it. So does the Secretary of State. But they're the ones that compile all the data for Arkansas voters. That's where that information comes from. That's important because guess what? That e-poll book, in order to work, in order to have voting centers, it has to be hooked up to the internet. That's correct. So you have to have an internet. Internet is co-located with where? All the machines. Same room, same location. So that's important, and I'll explain to you why. So in a little bit, I'll explain to you. So what happens is that they look it up, they look up your information, and they ask you, let's say primary, you want a Democrat or Republican ballot, right? Yeah. So you say Republican ballot, I hope so. I hope so. You say Republican ballot, it comes up, and what's on that piece of paper that just came out of that machine? That just was on the internet. What came out of that? A piece of paper, right? What's at the top of that piece of paper? Anybody know?
Barcode.
Yep, it's a barcode. You want to put that one up? Not that one. Okay. Anyway, there's a little barcode at the top. He'll get it up here. Okay, so the bottom line is at the very top of that, there's a barcode. I've asked county clerks, they say that just tells the computer the express vote at the very top, that one long one right there. It tells it which ballot style is yours based on your address. I said, that's great. What else does it tell it to do? Well, we don't know.
That's right.
We don't know. I said, why is that important? Because they can't tell you what else it tells you. It just came off the internet. It's already telling the computer something, okay, the express vote that you put it in. It tells it what ballot style you get. Why wouldn't it tell it something else? Is it? I just want to know. They do not know. That bothers me, right? Because I want transparency. That's the first part where there's no transparency.
Right.
So now I don't know exactly what it's telling it, but why is that important? Because ES&S knows when I got the ballot, it knows how old I am. It knows if I'm male or female. It knows how my voting history's been. They have all that data. If I'm 80, it knows that I'm over 80 or over 90. I may not be able to be cognizant enough to catch a mistake on the next machine. That's a fact. May not know it. So it could change it. Okay, we don't know. We have no way of knowing. Why should we allow that? That's number one. That's the first big vulnerability I see. The second vulnerability is when you go to the next machine, which is the express vote. The express vote is the computer that as they call it a machine, but it's actually a computer. And you go to it and you put that piece of paper in. And what happens? All of those different selections come out on the computer screen, correct? Okay. So you can, that is your ballot, folks. That is your ballot that's on the computer screen, not that piece of paper. That's called a ballot summary card. That's nothing more than a receipt. Why is that? And they even call it a ballot summary card in the ES&S manual. They don't call it a ballot. Okay, so they use a word salad. When everybody tells you, oh, you get a ballot. No, you don't. You get a receipt. If anybody has gone to a restaurant, a new restaurant, and you have the menu on one of those kiosks, and you push what you want, right? And it comes out on a piece of paper, that's your receipt. The menu's on that touch screen. And that's exactly what we have here. The menu, in this case the ballot, is on that computer screen. There's a study done at the University of Michigan. It was very simple. They did a mock election. They ran all these different people running through voting. And what they found was that 93% of the people, because they intentionally changed the votes on those machines, 93% of the people, guess what? Never saw a mistake, never caught any of the ones they changed. And some of them they changed 3, 4, 5. They didn't recognize it, didn't see it. Kind of like driving down the road and can't see a motorcycle. It's right in front of you. Your brain's not geared to that. You don't see it. Same phenomenon happens with these machines. It's not me. Again, I can prove it. You can go to my references, and it's right there. It's not me saying it. It's university professors who've done studies who will show you that the touchscreen does not capture voter intent like a piece of paper does. A piece of paper, a paper ballot, they found captures the intent. 98% of the people recognize if they made a mistake. 98% recognize, oh, I circled the wrong oval, made a mistake, excuse me, I need another ballot. What do you do when you have a mistake on the machine? Most people don't know, to be honest with you. They don't know what to do. Most of them feel embarrassed because guess what? You made the mistake. It's your mistake if the wrong one was touched, correct? How are you going to prove otherwise? You don't have a camera. You have no way to prove anything else other than you say, no, I know who I picked. When I went back and reviewed, it changed. We've got 100 affidavits, actually more than that, of people who said it changed right in front of them, or when they went back and reviewed their ballot, went back and looked at the computer screen, it had changed on them. All of us are supposed to say, oh, it's their mistake. Their mistake, not ours. It's your mistake. When we know that paper ballots will not have that problem. So that's number one. Voter intent is very important. Okay, and after you get through and you get your ballot, you put your little piece of paper in there and you make your selections, and your ballot comes back out of the machine. You go back there. It comes back out of the machine. Look at that a second. If you look, they do tell you what. Check the names. County clerks are telling you. Check the name. Make sure the name is on there that you want. Y'all were told that, right? Okay, they're doing their job. They're doing exactly what they're told to do. Okay, and I commend every one of them for doing it. But what happens is that, yeah, you check it. In fact, actually only 4% actually check it. Did y'all know that? Most people look at it, and if they look at it at all, it's only for a second to look at maybe one race. Okay, it's good, and they go in and put it in the next machine. They get the little sticker, it says, thank you very much, and then they walk away. They voted, right? But what's important about this is that these names that are on this ballot mean nothing to that machine. You know why? It doesn't read it. The DS200 is incapable of reading text. It reads barcodes right there. So we have no idea whether that barcode that's up there matches and represents the name that's below it. In fact, I'm just saying it could. All those barcodes actually could be Democrat and Republican names, or vice versa. We have no way to know unless we see the source code. We see the source code, then we'd know. But guess what? Nobody in America has seen the source code except the company. And talking about the company, yeah, just a second. Because I want to ask you a question. Who knows who ES&S is? Anybody? ES&S runs our entire election, folks, from beginning to end. The Secretary of State's office has pretty much given it to a a company, a for-profit company out of Nebraska. It's called ES&S, Election Systems and Software. They started in 1979 by a guy by the name of Bob Urosevich. Yes, he has Russian heritage. His brother Tom. They started in 1979. It was called AIS. Okay? AIS then it morphed into what we know now as ES&S. What's important about that is they have been caught many times doing things that are completely unsavory and wrong. They've sold machines saying that they were certified when they weren't. They said for 8 years they sold machines to customers that said, oh, guess what? They're not on the internet. There's no modem in them, but there were modems in them. There were modems in them. 8 years they did that. They were caught. Oh, we're sorry. We didn't mean to do that. Right? They are a for-profit company. We got to know who that company is. We got to know who's behind the curtain that controls all of our elections. Not just our elections, folks. They control 50% of all votes in America on machines go through ES&S. 30% go through a company called Dominion. Y'all know about Dominion, right? 30% go through Dominion, and about 10% go through Hart Civic, and there's about 3 other companies. But the big 3, just about all the votes in America go through them, and they're all for-profit companies. That's important. But I want you to know a little bit about this company. This isn't Conrad Reynolds speaking. This is NBC Report. There's two short videos I want you to watch. Go ahead.
For years.
Our voting machines are not connected to the internet.
Those are not connected. Voting machines themselves are not connected to the internet.
We knew that wasn't true.
And cybersecurity expert Kevin Skoglund wanted to prove it. So he and 9 other independent security consultants created their own search engine looking for election systems online.
We found over 35 have been left online, and we're still continuing to find more.
Voting machines themselves are not designed to online. So how are some voting systems getting online? We got a first-hand look when we visited ES&S, the largest manufacturer of voting machines, and talked to CEO Tom Burt.
Why is there a Sprint thing here and a Verizon thing here?
There's a small percentage of jurisdictions in the country, a lot of them are in Florida, who have decided that they want to modem unofficial results to the election office.
You know, you do wonder sometimes whether or not our thirst for quick results sometimes may be interfering with our thirst for accurate results.
You know, Cynthia, that's not my place to judge that one. Again, these jurisdictions have a need for that.
ES&S insists while there are 14,000 of its modems in use, there are firewalls separating those modems from the public internet, and that the modems are turned on for just seconds. But Skoglund says that's not enough.
We're seeing Illinois and Michigan.
Last summer, Skoglund's team found ES&S voting systems online in at least some of the precincts in 11 states, including the battleground states of Florida, Michigan, and Wisconsin.
If you were able to get inside these systems, could you do more than perhaps mess up the preliminary results? Could you actually get deeper inside the system?
Absolutely, and that's my biggest concern.
Top computer scientist Andrew Appel agrees with Skoglund.
Once a hacker starts talking to the voting machine through the modem, they can hack the software in the voting machine and make it cheat in future elections.
In August, Skoglund took his results to election officials and the press, assuming the systems would get taken down. We were astonished when he showed us some of those systems are still online.
Modems in voting machines are a bad idea. Those modems are network connections, and that leaves them vulnerable to hacking by anybody who can connect to that network.
We should make sure that voting machines are not connected to the internet.
Period.
Period.
The good news, Lester, experts told us most of the country votes with paper and pencil. Those ballots counted by scanners without modems. That means audits and recounts are possible. Now, having said that, they urge jurisdictions using modems and touchscreens to get rid of them.
Remember that last sentence. What did they just say? If you have modems or touch screen, get rid of them.
Yes.
They're ballot marking devices. That's important, folks. I talked with Professor Appel, the guy that was on there. I talked with both of those experts, actually. I've talked with. Has anybody in the state of Arkansas cared enough to even call these people, or talk to them, or ask them anything before they want to pass any laws? No, they have not. I've talked to them. They did not call them. Okay, so that is a problem because I'm telling you right now, we got a problem. So next one. I want you to watch this one too. Who owns
This
ESNS?
is all of our go-forward equipment here.
That's Tom Burt, CEO of the largest voting machine maker in America, ESNS, one of 3 companies that dominate the market. Nearly half of all voters will cast ballots on their machines.
I think part of the reason there are only a few players in the market is this industry is significantly underfunded. Margins are very thin.
We'll have to take his word for that, as Burt says their financial information is confidential. And so it turns out, is who owns them.
We are 100% owned by 2 sets of people. One is the McCarthy Group, which is based here in Omaha, Nebraska. They're a private equity company, and the rest is executive management at ESNS.
But who's the McCarthy Group?
No foreign ownership. It's a group of private investors who operate here in Omaha.
Why the lack of transparency? Well, let's see the names of the folks.
We can do that.
But they didn't. Later, writing to us, McCarthy Group bylaws prevent it from disclosing individual owner names. Another concern, their supply chain. NBC News tracked ESNS shipping records over 5 years and found many parts, including electronics and tablets, made in Asia.
Am I correct that some of them come from the Philippines and China?
Some do, yes. I wish we didn't have to participate in a global supply chain. That's not the world we live in.
But now lawmakers have introduced tough new legislation to make that supply chain transparent when it comes to China and voting machines.
Your story is going to give us fresh information, fresh data to get that passed.
Tom Burt is well aware his company is under scrutiny.
We read the papers and understand how citizens feel about the security of their vote. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they're as secure as humanly possible.
Having said that, there are virtually no requirements when it comes to cybersecurity and election systems. ESNS voluntarily asked the Idaho National Labs to test their products, but ESNS declined to share the results.
I'm wondering, is that something you can ask for?
Absolutely, and I am going to ask for this information on the basis of your report, and I'm going to say I want it within 10 days.
Well, Cynthia, Congress has taken action on this just this week, right?
That's right, Lester. The House and Senate agreed to provide $425 million to states to help them protect their voting systems, though critics say it's a year late and $1 billion short.
That is the company who's responsible for running all of our elections. And we got people standing up for that. Standing up for that. We don't know who owns them. We don't know who is behind the curtain, running all of our elections. We simply don't know.
And that wasn't Fox News.
And that wasn't Fox News. That was NBC. NBC. So my point is, I'm wanting transparency, folks. That's what I want. This is not transparency, okay? And nobody who's defending this can say that. Can say that this is a good system. They don't know. They simply don't know. Good people, but they don't know. Okay, and so anybody who tells you everything is safe and 100%, I heard it, I saw it on the video. We do audits, correct? 100% accuracy, folks. We did 5 counties. We did 5 counties in 2020. Did y'all hear that? Do you know what the audit consists of? See, that's the problem. They don't tell you everything. They tell you just a little bit where you think an audit is what an IRS would do if they came to your house, right? They'd go through every receipt. They would look at every ballot. They would go through every one and count every race to make sure it's accurate, right? That's not what they do at all. All they do is they go into a county. In this case, they did 5 counties in 2020. And all they did was they go in, they go, okay, they go to the election commissioner's office with all the ballots, go 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just randomly take these 5 boxes, pull them out. They open it up. They take out the DS200 tape that came out of that machine that night. And it says, okay, there's 500 ballots in this box. And 450 votes, they do 1 race. They did presidential race. They did Trump's race. They said, oh, there's 450 votes for Trump and 50 for Biden. They count them, boom, that's it. Then they do the other 4 boxes, and they're done. That's it. That is the audit. That is the audit. Okay, in the general, that professor up there, Appel, told me and other cybersecurity experts, if there's ever any cheating in a state, in a red state, it's going to happen in the primary. Because if you win the primary, we all know you win the general, correct? And they say in our blue state, solid blue state, it's going to be in the primary. Guess what? In Arkansas, we do not, by law, do not do primaries, folks. They only audit a general. That should make everybody in here wonder why. Why? Okay, I mean, why is that in there? Okay, this year they're going to do 20. Oh, 15. 15 counties. Well, same kind of audit. Not the audit we're thinking of. The audit that I actually explained to you. That is a problem because we have no way of checking. The system is bad. Anytime you get a computer between the voter and the final count, you got a problem. If anybody, I wish everybody in here, some of you were there, had come to the Mike Lindell event that we had on the 18th of March. I had a guy there, Colonel Sean Smith. He's an expert. And if you go to our website, the whole thing, the video is on our website. You can watch the whole thing. Forget my part. You've already seen it here. Go to Sean Smith's part. Right after me. Go ahead and listen to what he has to say about the parts and the machines and why you cannot trust any of that and why it's a problem. Go in there and look at that. I think it's important. I had one election commissioner, very nice lady. She said, well, Colonel, you just don't know what you're talking about. Let me school you a little bit. I said, okay, school me. She was really real nice. But she said, look, this is what we do. And she went through the LNA test, the logic and accuracy test. Anybody know what that is? And they'll show you. And by state law, they have to show you, okay, they advertise it 48 hours or whatever, and then people come down. You can come look at it and watch them do it. They got a test deck of about 300 ballots that they run through a machine. That test deck is sent to them by whom? ESNS, number one. ESNS takes that ballot, and they run that through the machine, and they go, look, see, 100 for Daffy Duck, 100 for Goofy, and 100 for Donald Duck. It's all good. It counted them exactly right. This is what she was telling me. We do that. We do the LNA test, and we test all the machines. I said, that's great, but then what do you do? I said, when do you do that? She said, a week before the election. I said, okay, a week before the election, you do that. She goes, oh, hold on a second. I know where you're going, Colonel. She said, we make sure we lock that. We lock it, and then we put security tape on it, right? And she's being honest. And I said, great. And she said, and then we take it and we put it in a secure room, and they're not connected to the internet. That's what she told me. And she said, they're not connected to the internet, and guess what? We know that election day is ready to go. I go, great. Let me ask you a quick question then. Two, actually. First, do you know what's inside that machine that makes it work? She goes, what do you mean, a computer? I said, yeah, it's a computer. I said, in fact, it's a Dell computer. In fact, all Dell computers over the last 5 years have been made in China. You know where they're made in China? Wuhan, China. Y'all heard about Wuhan? Know where that's at? That's where they're made. All right, so I said, that's what's inside that machine. It's a computer. It's not a machine. It's a computer. And so what happens is that I said, since it's made in China, as a national security expert, I will tell you, China is one of our biggest threats to our country and our way of life. China has departments of 10,000 people that are solely dedicated to breaking in every system we have, stealing all of our intellectual information. And guess what? We're supposed to believe that place in China, that communist country, is saying, oh, these computers are going into for the election. We're not going to touch those. Are you kidding me? Almost every chip on that computer is made in China. Okay, so but anyway, I said, aside from that, let me ask you, I'm still talking to the election commissioner. I said, aside from that, let me ask you a quick question. Do you have a computer at home? She said, yes. I said, if you have a computer at home, have you ever in your life ever changed the date or time for daylight savings time on that computer? Ever? She started thinking, no, I never have. Why? Because it knows the time. You don't think that computer on that knows what day it is? It's not going to start. If you talk to anybody in election integrity and cybersecurity, they'll tell you that any programming will make sure it doesn't start before election day. So you can run all the tests you want before the election day, and guess what? You're not going to find anything. And if they program it to where it's only for men that are 80 years old from 11 to 12, and from 12 to 1, women from 70 to 80, they can do this, folks. This can happen. This is no pie in the sky. Okay, this can happen. And so the point is that we're supposed to trust this, that none of that's going to happen. It's all good. And and she's telling me it's not online, and I go, well, what are your credentials to tell me that? I mean, I just like to know. How do you know? Well, I was told. Of course, she was told, and she believes it. They're told there's no modem. It's not on the line. And she said, look, you see any lines going to the computer? And I held up my cell phone, and I said, there's no lines here either. Right? There's no lines here either. And there's nobody in the state of Arkansas that can tell you how an iPhone works, I guarantee you. And how many people in here have had the opportunity to be able to be speaking about something, and then all of a sudden you get ads? Okay, do you think that iPhone is listening to you? Hears you? If you don't think so, just say Siri. And just see if it's listening to you. Hey Siri, listen, let's just do that and see if it's listening to you. Of course it is. Right? My question for you is, if they told you, guess what? You can't prove it. You can't prove it, then it never happened. Because none of us have the expertise, none of us have the ability, the kind of equipment that's needed to be able to prove it. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Of course it does. It's very possible. And when you get to elections, it's a lot of money. Now, I know I'm running out of time, so I got to be quick here because everybody's going to want to know, well, then, Colonel, what's the solution, right? Solution is paper ballots. I've showed this ballot before. I will show you again because I think it's important. This is a ballot that was, and oh, by the way, this does not cost $9 a ballot. That was information that was being put out to Sebastian County and Crawford County, number one, which is a lie. Okay, number two, I don't own any stock in the paper company that makes these. None. Okay? If you can't kill the message, try to kill the messenger. Say bad things about him on the Senate floor, right? This is what you do when you can't win an argument with the facts. That's the problem. So this is a ballot that came from Arizona. I'll just let you know they were going to use this for the November 2022 election. It didn't get through. Long story, they passed it, everything, but a court shot it down because they had two bills in one, and they said they had to redo it. Bottom line, I contacted the company that made these. They're in Addison, Texas. And I said, can you please show me or send me some of these so I can look at them and tell me exactly what they're made of. There's like 12 security features in this ballot. This isn't the ballot from 40 years ago. If y'all look at this, can y'all see through that? Do y'all see any lines? Yeah. You see the lines?
Yeah.
You see the lines in here? Oh, yeah. Okay, so if you were to make a Xerox copy of this, that's number one. All those lines show up. You would know that it's a fake ballot. Let me show you something else here. It's got 12 security features, but the two that I really like are this one here, which is the built-in hologram. It's a built-in. There's just not a sticker. All right, you're not going to be able to counterfeit that. That's number one, because you got to have a ballot that cannot be counterfeited. That's what's key. But I want to show you something else. I don't know if can we turn the lights off? No, can't turn the lights off.
Yeah, you can right there.
What's that?
Yeah, you can turn them on.
Oh, good. So y'all can probably see that. Can you see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See that? Okay. Y'all see that? It's just a watermark, right? But it's very sophisticated the way that watermark is put on. This is not. You can't counterfeit this. So how would it work? How many people do y'all have vote in the primary here in your county?
20,
roughly 4,000.
20,000.
20,000 in the primary.
Yes.
Okay, so you have 20,000 people vote in the primary. How this would work was you would get somewhere around, say, 25,000 ballots. You get 25,000 because you got to bring in accountability back into the county clerk's office, into the county, and we all have to own our own elections. We have to own them. So guess what? You say, okay, 25 of these, or you got 20,000 voters, you get 25,000 pieces of paper that are accounted for. And so you print out the ballot styles, you use them in your election. After you're done, if you're 20,000, then you'll have 5,000. You should have 5,000 left over. You have to account for all 25,000. Does that make sense, everybody? Absolutely. So if you have a ballot that cannot be counterfeited, and now you're accounting for all 25,000, there's no stuffing of the ballots. None of that is going to happen or can happen. Because you know why? I trust my county clerks. I trust my poll workers. I want them to count my ballot. And there are ways to count these and get this through. Why is that such a problem? I had a couple of county clerks that got really upset and said, we don't want to get rid of our voting centers and we don't want to get rid of our tabulators, because guess what? The tabulators make it easy for us to get it done on election night because we always get hammered by the candidates, right? I said, great. Then what you do is, I don't know about this particular ballot, but there are ballots that you can run that are like this, not secure like this, but they can run through a DS200. You can do that. So I said, keep your DS200. Make it where you fill these out by hand. You run them election night through the DS200 for a quick night election count. After that, you have to hand count. How many here would be volunteering to be able to count? Well, there you go. I mean, you're going to have, and then you have a secure election when you hand count these and you go through and one person checking for the watermark, a Democrat and a Republican counting the ballots. You have a camera over the table looking at the ballot, Every one of them that goes through there, you may have to have 4 tables or 5 tables set up. Now you have a fully transparent election with no possibility of injecting ballots, all right? And you have everybody then who questions it say, go watch the video. It's right there. Okay, and why wouldn't we want full transparency? Why wouldn't we? Okay, and I'm just telling you, that is why. But nobody wanted to hear me say that. Nobody wanted to talk to me because they knew they cannot argue what I just said. They can't argue my sources. You go and look. They cannot argue any of that. All they're doing is trying to say, put your faith in us, in that company, and in this. Put your faith in that. We won't steer you wrong. We promise. Okay? Nothing's ever happened wrong. And I'm just telling you, folks, I'm not willing to do that. I'm done doing that, and I am going to fight hard. I need all your help. We are AVII. We are also suing. I got the most brilliant attorney team in Arkansas. I mean, really, they are great. We're going to win. We're going to win our lawsuit. Okay, and the reason we're going to win a lawsuit because, as I told Clint, let's just hold this up in front of the judge and say, "Tell me who that is, sir," or the jury. Tell me who that is. If you can't, I can't verify the vote. You can't verify who this is. We win. That is, and why is that important? I want to get rid of every ESNS tabulator in America. Every one of them. I know I could talk all night. Is there anything I'm missing, Will? Signs. Oh, yeah. We got signs here. We want everybody to grab a sign, put that in your yard. Let your JPs know. By the way, JPs are good people. And so is your judge. He's a good man. He let me come in and talk to him, and I really appreciate that. I don't know if I fully sold him, but he took the time to listen to me, and I appreciate that. And some of the JPs, but they're not our enemies. They are people we have to convince. We have to let them know that we have to get rid of the machines, and that is all there is to it. There is no middle ground here. And even with SB 250 that Kim Hammer pushed through, even with that bill, we still can do it. And I encourage all of you to get behind this effort. You can go to our website. If you want to donate. We need money to pay Clint and Jen, or they're going to hate me, right? But basically, we're going to take this all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to. That's number one. And number two, we're going to get paper ballots in Arkansas. We are going to get rid of these machines. I'll hang around. I don't know if you probably not got time. I got time for questions. Great. Anybody got a question? Anybody want to sharpshoot me? Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I've heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I've heard that we cannot get into our voting machines without damaging them or being out of warranty or whatever, so we really have no idea what is inside our machines.
That's correct. You cannot get in, otherwise it doesn't void the warranty. Okay, only ESNS people are allowed to service the machines. And by the way, you are all paying a big penny. You ought to FOIA and ask exactly how much you're paying ESNS every year. I think you would find that important. And you know something? There's another organization that fought us tooth and nail on this called the AAA, or the Association of Arkansas Counties, AAC rather. Okay, they fought us big time on this. Okay, and I think that every one of you ought to be asking, how much money does our county give? And what do we get for it? I think you ought to be asking that question. I certainly would. Okay, because they fought us. They're using your tax money, which is, they're a nonprofit organization, but they're not a state agency. And they are, in fact, taking your money and they are fighting us, okay, for what you're wanting now. So that's something you ought to be looking at.
But we have a JP employed by them.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not going to disparage anybody's character or intentions or anything else. I'm not, because I don't know people. People will disparage me and have never met me or never talked to me. They don't even know me. They don't know my heart. They don't know where I stand. They don't know what I've done for this country. Already, they have no clue. I don't have time to waste on those people. We're losing our country. Okay, and we have to get it back. And the way we're going to get it back is by controlling our elections. If we don't control our elections, ladies and gentlemen, and know for sure the person you voted for is counted, nothing else matters. Okay, we have selections, not elections, right? And that's why I'm fighting. That's why this is the hill I'm dying on, right here. Because this has got to be done. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
A huge part of the puzzle is to, more people that vote, it's harder for them to cheat. paper ballots are obviously a huge part of the puzzle. Still, 100% behind it. Still, the voter rolls are so corrupt. That's right. We can't get our hands on that too. I'm 100% here. I'm not saying, but the voter rolls are so corrupt, and they all know it. It's like there's no smoke and mirrors us doing this section when they got this whole other corrupt deal to plug right into the system.
Voter rolls have to be fixed without question. The way I'm looking at, for me, I'm singularly focused right now. And I have to be, otherwise I'm an inch deep and a mile wide. I've got to focus and be able, that's what I learned in my military training, you got to focus in order to be able to defeat the enemy in their weak spot, exactly what matters. That is very important, the voter rolls, without question. But if we don't get rid of the machines, again, you're never 100% sure that your vote actually counted. Yes, sir.
I got a question for you.
Yep.
Okay, so your organization is pushing for one-day voting?
No, sir.
No, you're not?
No. I would love to have one-day voting, but we are not pushing for that right now. We would love to have it, and eventually we will. But hopefully, but right now, no. Right now, my sole focus is to get rid of the machines, to get rid of this.
Well,
that's my focus.
Just a food for thought. 65% of the people in the general election last year in Saline County voted early.
Mm-hmm.
And for older people, we live in a retirement community.
Right.
It's difficult to stand in line for an hour or two if you got a cane or a walker or whatever. So it's great being able to vote early, and I would definitely argue strenuously against.
Right. I've got some questions about how long we vote. I'd like to cut a week off of it at least, and then what you could do is take that money you're spending on that, spend it on paper ballots. Yes. Okay, that's one thing you could do. You could save some money. But again, I'm not going to focus on those things because then you get lost in the weeds and you lose your focus. Our focus is to get rid of the machines. And that's what we intend to do. And by the way, just so you know, when you go in and vote right now, you have to wait. If there's a lot of people coming in, you have to wait for one of those machines to open up. Yeah. Anybody have to wait for that? Yeah. If you have paper ballots, guess what? You could throw up a piece of cardboard in the chair and you could expand it up to 50 or 60 people at one time voting. You don't have to wait. You fill it out. And by the way, just so you know, in Pulaski County, on election day, you know what they do? They go back to precincts on election day in Pulaski County, the largest county. And guess what they do? They use a ballot, an ESNS ballot, and they fill in the ovals. And they take that and put it through the DS200 machine. That's all we're asking. We're saying the same thing, but do a hand count as a certified count. The other is just a preliminary, unofficial count for election night only. And then you do the hand count of every race. That's what we're advocating. That keeps everybody honest. Because if the machines were going to cheat, they're not going to cheat when they know there's a hand count coming. Okay, that's just a fact. Yes, ma'am.
How many issues did we have in the 20 and 22 elections? I didn't see anything on the map that you showed.
You're probably not. Well, over here?
Yeah, the one.
Yeah, that was it. They didn't check Arkansas. I called him and talked with him. They didn't look at Arkansas. So I don't know. But I will tell you this. You won't know unless nobody else that looked at this. This was a private individual and group. Nobody else is looking. Nobody else is trying to find out what's going on. Okay, everybody just goes through like sheep, like everything's okay. It's not, folks. It is not. It can't be without full transparency. It's kind of like y'all remember the Challenger? And remember back in the 80s, they had the, what was it called? Huh? Yeah, the O-rings. Remember that? Everybody, and people warned them. Could be a problem. This is a problem. We've never had a problem yet. No problem until it exploded. Then they go back. So I'm warning everybody. This is a problem that we can solve and fix with our friends and neighbors right here in our counties. And this is a county, it's got to be bottom up because nobody from the top is going to come down and change this, folks. Nobody. Okay? They're not. It's got to be from the ground up, and you got to get everybody in this room plus another 500 people to go talk to the quorum court. Sorry, Judge. But go to the quorum court and be polite and respectful. But we want a change. We must have a change, and that is and it's our county, it's our election. Somebody else, yes, sir.
Do the representatives, our senators, JPs, judge, any of them, do they have any information that we don't have on these machines that give them a comfort beyond what we're able to see?
Not that I found out. You ought to ask them. Here's a key question. Okay, where's the source? Why can't we see the source code? Why is it proprietary? Why are we allowing any company to operate our elections and keep that private? If it is, I understand proprietary, but it shouldn't belong in elections. It should not belong in our elections. we should say, no, we reject that. We want full transparency. If you can't get it, you are not in our state.
What could be proprietary about county?
That's right. That's what every cybersecurity expert will tell you, and that's not that. And by the way, I'll finish on this. I don't have anything against John Thurston at all. I got nothing against our Secretary of State. I will just tell you, though, when I asked to talk with him, I sent him an email, and then I saw him in December, and he told me, point blank, what do I have to talk to you about? That's what he said. And I said, maybe because I'm a combat veteran. I spent 30 years of my life protecting your right to vote, and I'm asking you for an opportunity to share what I know that may be of value as the senior election official in our state. He goes, I got nothing to say to you. So that was it. So I just want to let you know, it's not because I didn't try. I had all kinds of people saying, Colonel, why don't you go talk to the Secretary of State? Well, I tried, and that was the answer. So you're going to cut me off, or you got one more question? One more.
I'm just curious, have you asked them what they're going to do in the future? AI is off of anybody done ChatGPT or any of these things? AI is going to be in those computers changing whatever it wants. So I'd like to ask them, what are they doing to protect us as we go forward?
Well, I just found that most people are good people, or whoever they are that are supporting the machines. The problem is a lot of people are invested, and when I bring this thing up, a lot of people feel like I'm attacking them, and I'm not. I'm not attacking anybody, because a lot of people have certified elections. They've told everybody they're good, and now they're vested in that position, and they don't want to change that position. And I understand that, and I just have to say we have to agree to disagree. But I have nothing against anybody personally, but I do have against this company, and we need to make sure we get rid of them. Thank you very much. I'll be hanging around for any questions. Thank you.
And just for communication's sake, yes, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I'm curious, who in Arkansas has the authority over ESNS?
Conrad,
What's that?
The answer to that. Who in Arkansas has?
Who has authority over ESNS here in Arkansas?
Right, ESNS is here at the invitation and approval of the Secretary of State. Secretary of State by law approves the machines that are used in our state, and that's who it is. Okay.
Well, that's why he didn't have time.
Oh, sure.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Lots of questions. I'm sure there will be more questions.
I'm just saying, I heard like on national news that they're watching Arkansas. And when I say that, everyone said, oh, we're just Arkansas. But the nation's watching us as to what we're going to be doing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. It does bring up, it's an important topic. That's why we had Conrad come here. Thank you both of our speakers. But